guys? Today we're going to jump into a Red Yellow Bonney game. Thought this one was kind of interesting. I think this deck is pretty interesting just overall. Going over it, we got the leader on the opponent's turn. If you're at 1 or less life, it gains plus 2k power. So basically the idea of the deck is to yank down to 1 life, that way you're defensively a 7k lead. Also active main once per turn, you can give one of your opponents minus 1k power, and if you have 2 or more life, you can take a card from your life to your hand. That's kind of what I mean when I say you can yoink down to 1 life to make yourself extra defensive. It's very, very solid and can sometimes be hard to play around. Jumping into the deck list, we got 4 of the Searcher Bonney. This finds Egghead and Straw Hat. Looking at the top 4, 1k counter, pretty standard. We have 4 of the 7-cost Zoro on play. You give your leader plus 2k. This actually stacks with the defensive buff, so if you play this and you're at 1 life, your leader becomes a 9k. Very, very strong. Also active main once per turn. If your opponent has a character with 8k power, he gains character rush, so not quite as good as regular rush, but he is able to attack into characters, helping you clear board. This plus Bonnie helps you swing into like a 10k or lower, maybe neutral or above. We have 2 Roger for the unblockable, self-explanatory. We have 4 of the Pacifista. If you have a Bonnie on field and you have 0 life, this card gains blocker. Also, he's a 2k. In my testing, he's only ever been a 2k, or I accidentally play him out not realizing you have to be at 0 life. We have 2 Sentamaru. Blocker, if you have 2 or less life on block, you draw a card. Sanji, this card is super underutilized in the meta, but I think it's overall really strong. When attacking, his base power becomes the same as the opponent's leader's power during the turn, and then on KO, if you have 2 or less life, you play up to 1 yellow character with 6k or less power. So essentially on KO, he does the same thing as Nami 5 cost, but a little bit worse. We have 4 of the Frankie, token 2k body that plays himself, also Egghead, also Straw Hat, so you can just search it off of Bonnie. We have 4 of the Nami, also searchable off of Bonnie because Bonnie searches Straw Hats. On play, give it onto your leader, make your opponent yoink a life if they have 3 or more. Then on KO, you flip a top life and play out a character with 6k or less body or power. Really solid. This card pretty much defined EBO 3. We have 4 Borsellino, self-explanatory. This card's really good. Blocker, on play, if you have 2 or less life, you heal, 5/6, 1k counter, blah blah. Complain about it more if you want, I don't care. We got 4 of the Kuma. This card is really solid. It's like slightly worse Borsellino with slightly bumped stats, but on KO it makes your opponent take a life. We have 2 of the 9-cost Bonnie, self-explanatory, everyone knows what this does. We have 2 of the new Secret Luffy. This card, if you're at 1 or less life, actually makes itself a 9-cost, which is pretty cool. Also on play, you can trash a card to give it blocker and give your leader plus 2k. Which again stacks with your Bonnie leader, so you could technically be a 9k defensive leader on your opponent's turn. Really solid. We have 4 the man with the world's greatest brain. This is just another searcher for Egghead. Most of, if not all of the deck is basically Egghead outside of, I think, the 5-cost Nami. Really solid card. And then we have 4 of the Raw Heat Strike. It's just a counter that gives you plus 2k. Then if you have 1 or less life, you give your opponent's character or leader minus 2k for the turn. Trigger, draw a card. It's okay. I like it in this list much more than I like something like Quasar. I'm not a huge fan of the Quasar loop personally, but this is a list that is pre-ban list, so like my game is kind of pre-ban list as well, but we'll jump into the deck list again after the game to kind of talk about what we would maybe change post-ban list. Let's get into the game though. Jumping into the game, we are going to face off against Green Bonney. Kind of interesting. our game plans don't really interact with each other. Bonney just tries to rest what they can. Green Bonney tries to rest what they can and kind of stun you if they're able to. And Yellow Bonney just wants to take a bunch of cards. Red Yellow Bonney wants to take a bunch of cards from life and just sit on a fat hand. Very interesting matchup though. We do have the option to choose turn order. We're thinking about going second, but we will choose to go first. I think it's a little bit more advantageous. You're able to be more aggressive, and since you're just going to take cards out of your life anyway, it doesn't matter. So you're basically getting the draw the same way you would if you were going second. So we are going to Scientist Search here. We have some not terrible options between the Zorro and the Borsalino. I lean towards grabbing the Borsalino since Bonney doesn't really like when their opponent goes Green. Bonney doesn't like when their opponent goes wide, and if you can make that wide board tall as well, it's even better. Borsalino is really good, but I didn't think as a blocker it was going to generate the same amount of value in this matchup as it usually would, since they're just going to be able to rest it on our swing, or maybe even play a character that rests it. So we will grab the Zorro here. Passing back over to our opponent, they use the more Pizza Searcher. They're going to grab an Arouge blocker and I believe just pass back to us. Sorry, they use another Pizza Searcher, grabbing a Scratchman of Poo 2K, passing back to us. We're thinking what to do here. We're just going to take the life, then we do swing 7. We're thinking about playing out one of the Pacifista blockers. But I make a little bit of a mistake in hindsight. I didn't realize during this match that you have to be at 0 life for it to be a blocker. So I would have actually just kept this in hand as a 2K rather than playing it out. Kind of a blunder on my end, but it's not that big of a deal. Opponent does play the Arouge. They're going to swing in. We're just going to take it. Like I said earlier, we're really trying to take as many hits as we can. We're going to play out the Nami here, forcing opponent to add the top life to hand. Then we're going to reduce the power of the Arouge and swing 6 in, hoping that they'll give us the Arouge blocker, but I unfortunately think they're just going to give us a life. Green Bonney is also pretty notorious for wanting to take a bunch of hits and just stack up as many cards in hand as they can, but they don't have the same tools anymore. They don't have 8-cost Kid and they don't have 10-cost Doflamingo, so they're not stalling the game out as much as they used to. Opponent does have our Nami rested, will play out the Carrot, which is a little bit annoying because it's just going to keep our Nami from being able to swing in. So we're just going to drop a Zorro here. I don't feel like we need to heal. Once we play the Zorro down, we're going to be 7 on our turn, 9 on our opponent's turn, and they're going to have to dedicate a lot of resources to swing into a 9k leader. So we do reduce the Arouge again. We'll swing 7 in. They rest the Zorro. Unfortunate. That means we're not going to get another swing in with that Zorro. Not that big of a deal though. It's kind of still just serving its purpose of making us a 9k leader. So whatever they want to do here, if they play characters, they have to reduce the character size that they're going to play pretty significantly. Here I'm pretty sure they're just going to Scratchman a Apu. They're going to play out the 6-cost Law, and then they bounce the Apu back to play a different character out. I'm pretty sure they go into the 5-cost Perona to stun the Pacifista and the Nami. I didn't necessarily even know that Green Bonney was running this card, but it does make sense. They're going to swing into the Pacifista here solely so, I mean, they could have swung into Leader as well and we wouldn't have been able to take the hit, but they swing into the Pacifista, freezing the Zorro, so we are unable to use it, as well as the Nami not being able to be rested. Here we're kind of not thinking properly. I don't necessarily love this turn. To start, we're at 1 life, so we should have probably just played down the 10-cost Luffy, buffing us to 9, but instead we swing 7, again trying to force the Arouge out if we can. We do. This is where I kind of realize, oh hey, I messed up. But instead, we played the Kuma down. We played the Kuma down again just to expand our board wider if possible. It also means that on the next turn we have more bodies to swing to make them rest something before playing the Luffy. Had we played the Luffy on that turn that just passed, we would have swung for 7 and they would have just rested the blocker. Would have basically been a waste. So we do have 2 life. Once we go down to 1 life, we will be a 7k leader, which again just means 1 extra Dawn per turn. They are unfortunately for us though going to play the 9 cost Shanks out, popping the Zoro. It's out of the game now. Pretty much only gave us a boost for that 1 turn, and then we got no other value out of it. But once they swing into our life, they will not be able to swing any of their characters. We're a 7k leader now. We do, interesting enough, draw into the 4 cost Sanji off of life. I like this card a lot, and if you're going second, it's a really good 4 Dawn play because you're gonna be at 2 life in no time. So opponent has nothing to swing here unless they attach a Dawn to one of their characters, which then they wouldn't have leader effect. So we're gonna force 1 swing, or we're going to swing and force the leader effect here. That way we can play the Luffy without it being rested. So we'll swing the Kuma. Pretty standard for them to use leader effect resting the Nami instead of resting the leader. I think maybe resting leader would have been a little bit better. They'll give us a 2 and a 1. We're gonna reduce the power of the law, and we blunder here again. We meant to play the Luffy first. We should have played the Luffy first. For some reason we messed up. We didn't. So we're gonna play the Luffy. We're gonna discard off the 1 cost counter event, passing over. We are now a 9k leader on the opponent's turn. This is really just gonna mess up their math numbers. They have to put 3 Dawn on any of their smaller characters and able to swing neutral. We do have a counter event right now. We have a 12k blocker. We're sitting in a pretty advantageous spot. We also have the opponent down to 1 life, so we're not worried at the moment. Kind of just waiting for opponent. Opponent drops a Hody here, which is kind of strange, but we're not sweating it. We do realize that they mess up and they don't rest our Dawn. Hody is able to rest 2 things, so they probably just misclicked. We choose not to activate anything with our Dawn. I don't think we're gonna need it. They only have 2 swings potentially, and we have quite a bit of counter. So they will swing 9, we're just gonna give them a 1k. They'll swing 8. We don't even have to do anything. They just freeze our Kuma, and then they will swing 11 into, I believe they swing it into life here. We're just gonna take it. No reason not to. We're gonna push for game on this turn. Their 6 does nothing. Here we're just gonna play the Roger down, and we're gonna swing for lethal. We did make a couple mistakes in that game that, looking back over, I wasn't super thrilled about, but overall I think we did pretty well with the deck, and I do think it's pretty viable. Let's jump into the deck review though. Overall, I think this deck is really fun. At least I had a lot more fun than I expected to with it. The only thing I kind of want to change now that we have the ban list is slotting in a couple copies of Raigo. I've played against this and I think it absolutely smacks. You're getting down to 1 life so quickly. It's basically free removal. It's essentially Red Rock. I don't necessarily love the man with the world's greatest brain, so maybe we would cut this down to 2 to slot 2 of these in. I could even see cutting this entirely to go 3 Raigo and maybe 3 Luffy, because this card seems really cracked in this deck. Obviously this was made for Red Yellow Bonney, but boosting her to 9k on your opponent's turn just is so absolutely strong. I'm actually going to save this list so we have it for future gameplay. But that's going to be the video, guys. If you enjoyed and you made it this far, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Maybe come and check us out on Twitch sometime as well. But I gotta go play some more games. I will catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one.